Third block on the right, the distribution, the sales channel. It's really how you're going to bring your product or your service physically in the hands of your customers, and eventually the additional services that will be necessary to perform to close sales. What are the options? Basically, to go online, to sell on the web, to go direct through direct sales force, to go through distribution, through distributors, resellers, or to go through integrators if your product is actually part of a bigger whole. What are the core criteria that drive this decision process? How complex is the sales at first? Of course, the more complex the sales process, the more direct we will have to go, because it's very hard, very complex to train and incentivize intermediaries, resellers, distributors to engage them into selling very complex products. The second criteria is, does your product, your service require additional services to close deals and also to make your customer happy? The third one is precisely, is your product part of a bigger whole? Do you need to go through integrators? And the fourth criteria is what is the market structure? Is the market very large and dispersed, or is the market very concentrated around a small number of customers? Of course, the larger, the more dispersed, the more you will have to go through intermediaries, because it's almost impossible to cover directly a very large, very dispersed market. So the sales decision actually ultimately is a trade-off between these four decision criteria. Let me take a few examples to illustrate that point. The first example is about the early days of personal computers. When personal computers first hit the market in the early 80s, the product was rather technical and the market was highly uneducated. So at first glance, you would think that pushes for going direct. Except that two things also came into play. First, customers needed additional product. They needed software. Sometimes they needed a printer, for example, along with their computer. And second, the customers were highly uneducated, so they needed on-site setup training. The combination of all these considerations led to the emergence to a whole network of specialized PC, personal computer resellers that perform locally, close from the customer, these tasks. Another example, let's assume now that we're selling a virtualization layer for cloud-based application. At first glance, your market is also comprised of a small number of large corporations, so it's still a concentrated market. The sales process is also quite complex because it is a very technical solution. This pushes for going direct. But if you think about it a little bit further, you will also realize that a virtualization layer is actually part of a global IT architecture. So you can't sell it as a standalone solution. It has to be integrated in a global solution for the customers. That means you actually have to go through integrators for selling such a product. So the fourth block on the right in the structure of the business model is a customer relationship block. It's really about addressing a simple question. What does it take to make your customer happier and to keep them happy when using your product or your service? What are the options? Maybe about a call center to address all the questions they might have when using your product. It can be about building a community of users. It can be about bringing additional services or building a loyalty program, for example. The objective and the criteria in making this decision is always the same. How to enhance the usage value that you're building to your users, how to maximize user satisfaction, and also how to maximize, to lock customers in your world, to maximize user loyalty. This is the main goal of that customer relationship block. Let me take an example. Let's assume we're selling electronic whiteboard. What is your product? It's basically a device that allows you to record and print meeting notes, all the notes you draw on the board during meetings, teaching sessions. If you think about it, basically what you've got is a medium that allows people to exchange knowledge. So one of the ideas you might have in the customer relationship for such a product would be actually to build a user community where people could start exchanging their meeting notes, their sketches in the form of the proprietary file that you've developed across your board. That would be exactly a way to reach the goal to enhance usage value and increase user loyalty around your product.